Hi, I'm Imogen. I'm a fourth year engineering student at Durham University and I've just finished a summer placement with the Durham Energy Institute. Today I'm going to present the findings of my literature review and report on the application of hydrogen as a maritime fuel. My findings can be viewed in more detail within my report. To outline what I will cover, firstly I'll make the case for why hydrogen alternative fuels should be considered. I will then discuss in more detail a summary of the infrastructure required to use hydrogen on board a ship, before going on to briefly mention ammonia and methanol as alternatives to pure hydrogen. Hydrogen is a recognised alternative fuel with many areas of transport, adopting it to replace dirtier fuel options. Specifically for shipping, there are IMO regulations limiting the amount of sulphur emissions. IMO also requires a decrease in the carbon intensity of emissions and having a stretch target of 70% less than the 2008 value by 2050. At the same time, maritime freight activity is set to grow by over 40% by 2035, and international shipping volume is expected to at least treble by 2050, leading to a huge increase in demand of fuels and potentially the emissions that come with them. The consideration of solutions, including alternative, cleaner hydrogen-based fuels to the marine sector, is essential to ensure the requirements of the regulations are delivered. When considering hydrogen fuel, all stages must be considered, from production to the conversion to propulsion energy on board the vessel. Currently, hydrogen is mostly produced via steam methane reforming, around 97%, with the rest produced mostly through electrolysis. SMR relies on fossil fuels and electrolysis uses electricity. Both currently have high associated carbon emissions. However, electrolysis using renewable electricity generation has been identified as key to the adoption of hydrogen as a maritime fuel, as this would be a much cleaner way. The distribution of hydrogen depends on the distance and demand, with variation in these factors making different transport options the most viable. On-site production may be a good solution where there is high demand or where an expensive distribution line may be too costly. When considering bunkering, it is driven by the state of the hydrogen. Gaseous hydrogen can be bunkered through pressure balancing or compressing the gas onto the ship, whilst liquid hydrogen can be bunkered using cryogenic pumps. It's important to note that liquefaction is an energy-intensive process and handling liquid hydrogen is a technically complex process. However, to help with this, liquid hydrogen has parallels with LNG, which is currently used on board. An existing LNG infrastructure may potentially be adapted, reducing the required investment. Similarly, when considering the storage upon the ship, it depends on also the state of the hydrogen. Gaseous hydrogen is stored in pressure vessels, the construction of which depends both on the pressure and the materials used. A composite-based container may be able to withstand a higher pressure. For gaseous storage, a large volume is needed due to hydrogen's low energy density, which is important when considering any available onboard storage space. Liquid hydrogen with a much higher energy density must be stored cryogenically, and up to 40% of the energy may be lost during the liquefaction and storage process, compared to only 10% with gaseous storage. For both liquid and gaseous hydrogen, they are non-flammable when stored in a sealed container, but may ignite if they come into contact with oxygen. Care must be taken. Conversion to power can be done through fuel cells or internal combustion engines. Fuel cells are the greenest option, however currently the technology makes them more bulky and they have not yet been proven on long shipping routes. Current successful installations around the UK have been short distance ferries. For an internal combustion engine, the fuel used may be purely hydrogen or a mix of the MGO currently used in hydrogen. It's suggested that a dual fuel combustion engine be used as an interim step before a pure hydrogen system. Both the fuel cell and internal combustion engine, when using hydrogen, could have reduced volume. For cargo, the benefit of a dual fuel system would be an increased flexibility of the ports suitable for bunkering, as either option could be taken on depending on availability. A lower energy density of HFO and fuel capacity limitations could cause a hydrogen-powered vessel to have to stop and bunker more frequently. Aside from pure hydrogen, the hydrogen atom is also carried within ammonia and methanol. These may be dehydrogenated to provide hydrogen once on board, or they can be used as fuel within their own right. From their chemical characteristics, both liquid over the likely operating temperature of a ship, they are easier to store and bunker than pure hydrogen. Liquid hydrogen requires a cryogenic equipment, or gaseous hydrogen requires more space as it has a relatively low energy density, both of which have implications for the design of a ship. Projects are currently underway to run a fuel cell using ammonia and methanol as powering a cruise ferry between Norway and Sweden. Consideration must be given to the viability of their production using renewable sources, seeing as the main aim for moving the maritime sector to alternative fuels is to reduce dirty emissions. Ammonia is a commonly produced commodity using the Haber-Bosch process, which is made green by using renewable electricity sources. Worldwide, there's less than 1% of methanol which is currently produced with renewable sources. Consideration of the point at which the fuel becomes cost competitive is also important. For example, methanol's price per tonne would need to be much lower than any historical methanol price ever seen to be competitive to just a conventional scrubber. Because of this, ammonia is likely to be the better hydrogen-based fuel alternative for marine use, while methanol is likely to remain too expensive to be produced renewably and cheaply for the foreseeable future. Hydrogen-rich fuels such as ammonia or methanol may represent a good interim fuel solution on the pathway to pure hydrogen. To conclude, the importance of a replacement to conventional maritime fuels is paramount to the achievement and maintainment of the IMO 2050 emissions goals and regulations within this fast-growing sector. Hydrogen has been correctly identified as a key alternative and clean fuel. It's important to consider every step from production to conversion. Current technologies and infrastructure already in place in the maritime sector should be used and adapted for liquid or gaseous hydrogen. Technology around the volume of storage will be key to the success of hydrogen as a fuel. A fuel cell system provides the greenest option. However, in the near term, longer shipping distances should consider dual fuel or purely hydrogen internal combustion engines. Ammonia and methanol are good alternatives to pure hydrogen, not in the least due to their advantage of easier handling, bunkering, and storage. For all three fuel options, the ultimate driving factors to future steps to greener shipping will be cost and the associated availability of renewable and clean technologies.